Thank you. The gift of who we are, which begs the question, who am I? Who are you? Who are we? Who are we when we're together? And who are we when we're apart? For 10 years, I have been the minister of this congregation. I have changed, and the minister has changed. The congregation has changed. Yet through all these changes, each of us has retained a sense of self. And I believe that the congregation has a sense of self that remains even as members and ministers drift in and out. But what is this self? Is it who we really are? We play many roles in our lives. We have accomplishments and failures. Are we defined by our accomplishments? Are we defined by our failures? And throughout all of these things, we hold on to a self, even though so much has changed. There's a thread that follows a life from birth through schools, marriages, children, illnesses, and even death. As lives enter and leave this congregation, they add their thread to the fabric of the tapestry. They are variations on the theme. But the theme of the congregation remains. What I hope to explore this morning is who we are in the context of this tapestry and who we hope to be. I will lead us in an exercise, and some of you may have experienced this before. It's a series of questions seeking to pare down the outer shell of our lives and get to the essence of who we are as individuals, and then to who we are in the context of this congregation. The Hebrew name for God means I am who I am. When we find that we are who we are, we may find our true being, perhaps even our supreme being. As children, we're often asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that usually means our job. And then as we grow up and have jobs, we might not want to be totally defined by our job, because we realize that we are much more than that. And people stop asking, what do you want to be after you get to a certain age? Yet, it's a question we need to ask. What do you want to be? And the answer might not so much be a job or a profession, but it might be a quality. Do we want to be kind? Do we want to be just? Do we want to be loving? Will we ever be what we want to be? Perhaps we already are. It may just be hidden under the many layers of our lives. So now I invite you to close your eyes and listen. I will be asking questions, but it will be most important, to listen to the answer that arises from your heart. In the silence, listen to who you are. Listen to who you want to be. Who am I when I think of my gender? How am I like others of my gender? How am I different from others of my gender? How can I be unique? How can I be connected with others? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my race? How am I like others of my race? How am I different from others of my race? How can I be unique? How can I be connected? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my educational status? How am I like others with the same education? How am I different? How can I be unique? How can I be connected? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my marital status? How am I like others in that category? How am I different? How can I be unique? How can I be connected? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my family role or roles? How am I like other parents, children, spouses? How am I different? How can I be unique, and how can I be connected? Who do I want to be? When I think of others with my politics, how am I like them? How am I different? What is my uniqueness? What is my connection? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my connection to the UU Fellowship of Winston-Salem? How am I the same as others in this community? How am I different? What unique qualities do I bring? How do I make connections? Who do I want to be? Who am I when I think of my connection to Unitarian Universalism? How am I like other UUs? How am I different? How can I be unique? And how can I be connected? Who do I want to be? I invite you to open your eyes. And later I'll invite you to share some of the things that you heard yourself say, if you're so willing. I will go first. On the surface, I am a heterosexual male, Caucasian, educated minister who is married with adult children. I am left of most liberals, currently ending my tenure as a Unitarian Universalist minister of this congregation. I will continue my ministry with another congregation. With all the outward trappings of power, I want to be in harmony with the oppressed. I am fair-skinned, but I want to be fair-minded as well, being one with the entire human race. Just as I want to enjoy my sexuality, I want to advocate for those who are not free. I am no longer responsible for small children. He graduated yesterday. But I want to continue to find ways to be nurturing. Being liberal is not easy. To me, it means being open to the ideas of others, but it's hard for me to be non-judgmental of ideas that are unjust. Being the change I want to see in the world is painfully slow. I am tempted to take shortcuts, to yell and to scream at injustice. I am tempted to hate all evildoers. But deep down, I want to be loving to those who are angry. I want to be kind to those who see me as the enemy. I want to be merciful to those who have failed. I want to be hopeful in the midst of destruction. I hope to be at peace within in order to bring peace in the world. And that is why I am a Unitarian Universalist. And that's what I've tried to be here in Winston-Salem. And that's what I hope to be in West Lafayette. I want to be better. And I want you to be better. I hope my leaving helps us all on the way to self-improvement. I want us to be the ideals that unite all people. I want us to be just, loving, kind, merciful, eco-friendly peacemongers. if we are one with these ideals, we can never be separated. One thing that I talk about wanting to be is more organized, and I didn't even talk to Jim about the mic.
I forgot to ask.
So that,
We need a battery?
what?
We need a battery.
I have no idea. I don't even see the mic attached to the box. This is the box, but I don't see the actual mic. So we're going to go old school today. I want us to be loud in the place where we are. If an insight came to you about what you want to be, or how you want this congregation to be, please share it at this time.
Well, I'm willing to speak up, and I'm pretty loud. I'm Bill Roberts, and I, unlike Charlie, am probably to the far right of 99% of the people in this room. I realize I'll never be as smart as engineer Arnold Gelbin, and I'll never be as handsome as Steve West. You know, after 50 years of marriage, I realize I've only got 20 to 30 years left. So I'm going to try to do something in those years. Charlie, I'm going to miss you, guy.
I'm Riley Woosley. Charlie spoke of a number of issues that concern all of us, but when I think of making a judgment and I say that is bad or that person did something wrong, that's my perspective. I would like to know that every day I reach out to try to see the world from that person's perspective. Was it wrong for that person? Was it wrong for that moment? I really appreciate the Indian saying about walking the path of life in another's moccasins. And I find a lot of understanding when I'm able to do that. So when I seek harmony and balance and understanding, a lot of times I have to think outside of my box. And I want to do that more and more every day.
Charlie, as I reach middle age, I am more and more aware of my age. And I'm not so sure that, how differentiating characteristic this is in the list that you ran through. But for me, it's probably maybe a little more important than it is for others. So I want to be able to live to be 85. And that would be another 22 good years. Because I have a lot that I want to do that will define who I am. On the other hand, I want to be ready to die tomorrow or tonight. And I think about this sometimes because, it came pretty close once. So I want to be ready. I want my family to be ready for that too. Either eventuality or something in between.
I want you guys to be UUs of an evangelical bent. I really want you to talk up what you found here, because for each and every one of you is a different path maybe that brought you to this room. All of that learned experience, knowledge, agreed to explore the world and find answers that make sense for each of us. It's not so hard. And fund your church. If you can buy symphony tickets and you can go to the beach, you can pay for this fellowship. Do it. And I'll try to do better than that too.
This was a little subject, but to give you an idea of how I'm perceived by some people. My little next door neighbor, 5 years old, he comes transformed. And he said, "Do you sit out in that chair all day long with that book?" I said, "Well, when I get my work done," I said, "other people sit all day long in front of the television." So, comes another thing. He said, he was talking about Avery. He said, "My daddy says that your daddy says that your daddy walks like Einstein." I said, "Well, Avery walks like him, but I got his brains." Okay, one last little thing I'm learning from Dalton. He comes over. I said, "Dalton," he said something about going to school. I said, "How are you, blah, blah, when you go to school next year?" I never should have done this. I asked for it. I said, "Well, how old do you think I am?" Big mistake. Dalton, he looked at me. He thinks before he speaks. He said, 88. I said, 88? He said, "Well, you look old." And I have to tell you what he said about Avery. He asked something about Avery's age or something. He said 57. So 88 and 57 don't go together.
I wanted to respond to something that, well, most of what Gail said. I went to one of my innumerable change meetings last week, and this is the second or third time this has happened. Somebody came up to me after the meeting and said, "I want to be involved with change. I want to be a change, one of these activist people." And I said, "Well, in order to do that, you have to belong to one of our members." And there are half a dozen neighborhood associations, there's an alumni association, a couple of non-faith things, but most of our members are faith institutions. So this immediately leads into, well, what's your faith? Do you attend a church? And the answer most often is no. So I spoke to this person and I told him what a wonderful place the UU was, and I told him if he was here today I'd be glad to greet him, but he's not in the room. And I felt really awkward doing that. Being the champion of your faith is one thing, but actually getting out there in the world one-on-one and saying, you ought to check this out. This person had an ulterior motive, and I know one other person in this room who had the same ulterior motive. But even then, I found it awkward to say, well, we have a really interesting faith tradition. You ought to check that out. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think so.
I'd like to add on what you just said, because one of the things as a public person is that the school board I serve on tends to think I have no faith at all as a Unitarian. And it's been really interesting to say, actually, I have a huge faith that includes lots of them. So I think instead of it's no faith, it's actually really big faith.
Well, I hope you have this conversation at least for the next 2 years, but really for the rest of your lives.
Please rise as you are able to sing hymn 354, We laugh, we cry.